Coming up on Mountain News this morning, President Trump rules out the use of military force to acquire Greenland. And Minnesota workers are calling for a statewide day of no work, no school, and no shop to demand that ICE officers leave the state.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Welcome to Mountain News This Morning. I'm Caroline Mueller here with you on this Thursday, January 22nd. We are inching up on that 5 o'clock hour, so let's go ahead and check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmal for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, it was, dare I say, warm out there this morning.
Yeah, especially compared to what we've seen this past week. Definitely not bad at all of a temperature start to your day. Now, for some folks, you could run into some fog actually with those warmer temperatures. Not so much in the WYMT viewing area, but if you're heading south, there are some patches of fog as you're heading towards middle and eastern Tennessee. So if you are making your trip down to Tennessee, you might have to worry about that. But in terms of what we're seeing on satellite and radar, it's a relatively nice and dry start to the day. There is some chances for a little sprinkle here and there, but again, for the most part, just consider it dry and not terrible in terms of temperatures. I mean, we're talking 30s, 40s, 43 degrees even in Whitesburg right now, 42 in Middlesboro. These are not bad temperatures at all, especially not for this time of year and compared to what we've seen with highs for the day went back a graphic. There you go. Sorry, let me go back to where I was. Highs for the day are not going to be that bad either, looking at the mid-40s. Caroline.
Thank you, Megan. Frustrations coming to a head Wednesday at a meeting in Wayne County, West Virginia. Customers that have gone days and days dealing with water issues after an oil leak, able to take their concerns straight to local county and state officials. As Luke Hamilton reports, that meeting getting tense at times as neighbors demanded answers.
Wayne water customers going days without using water after oil spilled into Camp Creek. People are left wondering why they didn't know until days later when WSAZ reported the issue.
If you found out about it Tuesday, why didn't you tell everyone? At that time, it looked like an isolated sheen. We did not know that it went all the way to the mine at that time. Sheens come down the stream all the time. That's not uncommon. Under normal circumstances, the intake wouldn't affect the intake at all.
The Department of Environmental Protection, health officials, and the town have been monitoring the area after finding out vandalism caused the leak on AEP property. Still, customers say they smell an issue.
We hear you that there is an odor in the water. That's why this additional precaution of flushing is going to occur.
It's not just the odor, we can physically see it.
It smells like motor oil.
Crews just started flushing the lines on Tuesday after making sure sourced water was protected. Even though the spill was attributed to vandalism, the DEP says there are plenty of unknowns.
So I don't have a definitive date. There's some complicating factors that would
we don't know, really.
That's correct. We don't know when it occurred initially because the way it seeped into the pad underneath and then seeped out at a different rate than would be just a...
So it could have been going on for a month?
It could have been going on for some time, that's correct.
Wow.
Health officials also say they can't guarantee the absence of oil in people's lines.
I don't want to put my 14-year-old son in a shower or wash a plate in my dishwasher.
DEP says Appalachian Power is the responsible party since the spill came from their property, and they're still trying to clean up thousands of gallons of mineral oil.
We're also putting a plan in place for any of our other substations that may have been de-energized to try to increase security so that this vandalism doesn't happen again, because this is an unfortunate situation.
Officials say this is all out of precaution, but flushing could take 3 to 4 days, with water expected to be available for customers in 7 to 10 days. In Wayne County, Luke Hamilton, WSAZ.
The DEP says the freezing conditions have already caused issues for the crew cleaning up the spill and working to flush lines. So this could take longer than 7 to 10 days with snow possible on the way this weekend. Addiction Recovery Care, a Kentucky drug treatment company, has agreed to a nearly $28 million Medicaid fraud settlement. A new lawsuit alleges ARC is withholding $8 million from an overseas trust to avoid bankruptcy. The company says it only has about $3.8 million and cannot pay without halting patient care. ARC has already closed most facilities and laid off hundreds since an FBI investigation began in 2024. A new acquisition is expected to close soon, which ARC hopes will resolve its financial issues. Minnesota faith leaders, business owners, workers, and others are calling for a statewide day of no work, no school, and no shopping on Friday to demand that ICE officers leave the state. Organizers are calling it a day of nonviolent moral reflection and are asking Congress to intervene in the aftermath of Renee Good's shooting death by an ICE officer and a recent law enforcement surge. The day of protest is expected to include a march through downtown Minneapolis. A number of state officials and leaders gathered to express support for Friday's event.
And we are calling for this to be a day where no one shops, no one goes to school, no one goes to work. But instead, we take action together in community, in moral reflection, and in moral action.
On Thursday, Vice President J.D. Vance will visit Minneapolis to hold a roundtable with local leaders and community members. The Vice President's office says he will deliver remarks focused on restoring law and order in Minnesota. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments yesterday in a high-stakes case that could have a major impact on the independence of the Federal Reserve. At issue is the legality of President Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook from her post on the Fed's Board of Governors. The president maintains he had cause to fire her because of allegations of mortgage fraud in 2021 before her appointment. Justices questioned the evidence behind the allegations and whether Cook was allowed to respond.
Was Ms. Cook given the opportunity in some sort of formal proceeding to contest that evidence or explain it?
Not a formal proceeding. She was given an opportunity in public because
in the world,
notified.
like she was supposed to post about it, and that was the opportunity to be heard that you're saying was afforded to her in this case?
Yes, and
this is the first time in the Fed's 112-year history that a president has tried to fire a sitting governor. It comes at a time when President Trump has repeatedly slammed the Fed for its interest rate policy. President Trump leaves Davos, Switzerland today with a concept of a deal on Greenland in the works. On social media, the president said early agreements on a framework came after a, quote, very productive meeting with NATO's Secretary General. Trump also announced he will not be imposing tariffs on a host of European nations that resisted his push. Details of the framework still scarce, though NATO said negotiations are aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold in Greenland.
I think this is really an idea of putting Greenland under the wing of NATO rather than ownership by the U.S. And making it a regional effort.
Today, President Trump is turning his focus to the Middle East, touting his Board of Peace plan for Gaza. While over a dozen nations have signed on, some key allies have declined. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is also in Europe. While there, he spoke about the president's plans for Greenland.
I'm incredibly concerned. Over the course of just 1 year, this president has taken America from being leader of the free world to the bully on the playground, from trying to promote democracy worldwide and always stand firm with our allies and friends to saying we can use force just because we can.
On social media, Governor Beshear called the president's address yesterday in Switzerland, quote, dangerous, disrespectful, and unhinged. A second confirmed measles case in Jessamine County, and it looks like Kentucky is not the only state seeing an uptick in cases. South Carolina is dealing with a serious measles outbreak. Health officials are reporting 646 cases in the state, more than 400 of them coming since the start of the year. State epidemiologist Dr. Linda Bell says another 538 people are in quarantine. 231 of them are K through 12 students. Measles is highly contagious. Dr. Bell expects the virus to continue spreading unless there's a major increase in the number of people getting vaccinated.
We may be in this for certainly weeks more and potentially months more if we don't see a change in protective behaviors.
2025 saw the largest surge in measles cases in the U.S. in decades. More than 95% of those cases were in people who were not fully vaccinated. The CDC says two doses of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is 97% effective against the disease. Thanks for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News This Morning. Coming up, we'll take a look at how some folks are preparing for this weekend's winter weather.
And we're looking at a winter storm watch from Arizona all the way to New York. More details to come.